Hello my lovely friends and welcome back to another video. Today I'm catching up with my reading journal. I don't have many books to archive in my journal as I finished a rather large book to begin with this month and this took up most of my reading for the month. That book of course was The Lord of the Rings. This was also my favourite book that I've read this month, so I decided to give it a full mood board spread. I have so much that I adore about this book, the characters, the plot, all the extra parts that went in the movie. It's just a masterpiece of a book. I do have a full reading blog about this one, which I'll link above, so I'll try not to bore you with repeating myself about just how much I love this story. When it comes to my reading journal spread, I wanted to focus on the aesthetics and the feel of the story. I did use some of the movie photos because the movies were just perfectly casted and designed, but I also wanted to add in some more aesthetic shots. There is so much nature imagery in Lord of the Rings that I knew I wanted to include this green floral washi tape, paired it with the map washi tape, so because whilst this isn't a map of Middle Earth, it just adds to that sense of travel and going on an adventure. If you're new to this channel or haven't seen one of my reading journal videos before, let me break down how I keep track of my reading. I use both a physical and digital journal, more on that one later, to keep a log of my books. The first thing I note down is the title, the author, the genre, if it's part of a series, and the rating. Ratings aren't massively important to me, but they do help me keep a rough idea about how much I enjoyed a book. But as I rarely continue books that I don't like, pretty much all my ratings will be between 3 stars and 5 stars. I'm very happily free with my 5-star rating. Next, I like to keep a note of when I started the book, when I finished it, also the number of pages, the format, or if it's a reread. I also leave a place in this section to keep a note of if the book was a library book or borrowed from a friend. In this next section, I break down the book a bit more and give its ratings for quality of writing, plot development, characters' emotional impact, whether it made me cry or happy, the world building. This section isn't about really criticising the book necessarily, it's more about acknowledging the parts that I liked most. For example, there may be a book where I gave it 3 stars, and it might have gotten a 3-star rating overall because I didn't love the characters, or maybe I didn't love the ending. However, I might have absolutely adored the world building, so I kind of wanted a place to kind of acknowledge that, the good of the books. Finally, I write down my thoughts about the book, and if it's a book that I particularly love, I will give it a full spread with a mood board. My mood boards are just a bit of fun and a decorative even way to enjoy the story a little bit longer. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. The next thing I read this month was the Nevermore series. This is a reread of the first 3 before the 4th book came out. This is the series I've read before, so I thought I would give it a joint double-page spread for all the books together. I've actually done another mood board for this series when I first read the books. It was in one of my other past reading journals. I'm also testing out this star rating stamp, which you'll see a bit in this video. I haven't really got the hang of it yet, so it does appear quite messy, but it's okay, we work it out and I find ways to cover it up. I listened to the Nevermore series as an audiobook and I just adore it. It's actually a middle grade series, but it's just so much fun and magical. I decided to go with a purple theme for this spread as the latest book in the series is purple. I do love how each colours have their own kind of block coloured theme, and I do hope this is something that continues in the future books. And I hope we don't have to wait too long for the next book, as the latest book, Silverborn, does read a bit like the calm before the storm. The stakes aren't as high as they were in my favourite book, which is the 3rd book. And there is a lot more kind of character development going on in this one. However, I still did really enjoy it, but I just feel like it's a little bit of a middle book, if that makes sense, where there's a lot more developing set up parts of it and the stories and the relationships between characters, so that things can I just feel like I can feel like this is at one level and then the stakes will definitely increase with the next books, if that makes sense. Also, it kind of just grounds Morgan's character a bit more and her relationships with her found family. There's this lovely scene at the end which I just really loved. It was so sweet. I'm so happy with how this spread turned out. It was a lot of fun to put together and things ended up matching a lot better than I thought it would. It came together really nicely, and it's a type of spread that I've been using a bit more recently, and especially when I'm reading a book which is all in the same series. Finally, I have 4 standard pages that I have to add in. The first is for a book that I forgot to print a cover off for, which this is Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. This is my first time reading a Dan Brown novel. I have watched the film The Da Vinci Code a long time ago actually, but I have never read the books, and probably, to be honest, wouldn't have done if my sister hadn't recommended them to me. This book was a lot of fun. It's a fast-paced thriller and it's just easy to read. I ended up binging a lot of it in just like one sitting. It's just very easy to read. I wasn't necessarily the most keen on the ending, as I felt the last twist wasn't the most kind of realistic, but I still enjoyed it. Also, this is very much a man writing a woman, I will say. I couldn't help but kind of roll my eyes at some of the descriptions in there. I also read The Wicked Fox duology. This is about a teenage nine-tailed fox and a boy who takes her fox speed. It's a young adult fantasy that reads a bit like a K-drama, and yeah, it was alright. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I feel like I may just be getting a bit too old, where teenagers falling in love enough to die for each other after like 2 weeks. It just doesn't quite hit. Never did when I was a teenager, to be fair. But it was fun, and I'm glad I got it off my TBR. Speaking of, let me briefly jump onto my digital journal. This is on Notion, and it's where I keep track of my reading kind of on the go. This has my physical, also has my physical TBR page where I tick off all the books that I've read on here each month. So let me take off Lord of the Rings and the Wicked Fox series. I also have a page where I track manga, and this is also just like where essentially it's just that is a page. It's my manga tracker. It's where I keep track of the mangas that I have been reading. And oh, I totally forgot a book this. Okay, I totally forgot a book I read this month. I also finished the Call the Name of the Night series, but I totally forgot to print a cover off. I will be sure to add this page in later. As I did read the final volume of that, and it was just lovely, honestly. It was a delightful end to a delightful series. Back to my physical journal and onto the second Wicked Fox book. I did actually enjoy the second book a lot more. This one follows 2 of the side characters from book 1, and I just liked them and their relationship a lot more. So I did actually, I actually quite enjoyed this one, and I mean, there are parts that I still wish were a bit more fleshed out. However, it was a nice easy read, and in a moment you'll find that my camera cuts out, and I didn't realise until I'd already done. But I did also read the first volume of the manga. Oh, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. Kamismarakis? I don't know if that's how you say it. But it was a lot of fun. I was recommended this because I like the manga Noragami, and that also deals with like spirits and creatures, and they both kind of have that same sort of theme. However, this one so far is a lot more on the silly side, which I've got to say I really enjoyed, and I probably will continue. As I said, my camera did cut off, so here we are at the end. This is a flip through and a close-up of the books and spreads that I've been catching up on in this video. Do let me know what you've been reading in the comments, and if you've read any books that I have, do share your thoughts, or if you'd like to leave a comment but don't really know what to put, just leave a book emoji, so I know they made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, my lovely friends.